from Microbe TV. This is office hours for April 12th, 2023. I'm Vincent Racaniello, and welcome to our Wednesday evening virus chat, virus talk, if you will. Welcome, everybody. It is the 12th of April, 8 p.m. Eastern, time to talk about viruses. How's everyone doing? Let me welcome our intrepid moderators. And I tell you, I came on here 10 minutes ago, and everybody was chatting away about, I don't know, tea and knitting and everything but viruses. So I guess that means the pandemic is over. A new definition for pandemic. Everyone starts chatting again. So Barb Mack is here, Steph, Andrew. PDK, Peak is here, Barb Mack is here, and Tom is here. Thanks again for moderating and taking care of the civility here in our viral corner of the internet. A couple of things I wanted to say first. I don't see Mark Martin here yet, so I'm going to hold off on talking about Mark. He just sent a gift to me, and I'll wait till he shows up. If he doesn't show up, I'll just show it to you guys in a bit, but it's pretty cool. So that's the first thing on my list. The second thing, so I want your opinion. You are the cognoscenti here, right? You are the people who like viruses enough to come here every Wednesday night, the same of you all the time, and chat about them or chat about other things. It's just a friendly place to be. So I want your opinion. I often ask your opinion. And yeah, the no trolls. That's another definition of no pandemic. No trolls. Okay, so what I want to ask you. So I got a letter this week from someone who's kind of annoyed and said, I'm tired of you guys talking about lab leak and non-lab leak hypotheses. It's not really science. And, I came to this podcast to get information about the pandemic. I don't need that anymore. So I'm cutting you off. And I'm tired of lab leak. So tell me, folks, are you tired of lab leak? Do you want me to stop? Do you want us to stop talking about it? Put it in the comments. Let me know, because this whole idea that here we have a science program, okay, that's what I'll call us, and you don't like what they're saying, so you cut off their funding. That seems weird, doesn't it? Don't you want to have open discourse, both sides and all that sort of thing? I guess I can't talk about both sides, right? Because I just do the data-driven side, right? So let me know, and I'll get to those comments later. Of course, TWIV 1000 is coming up this Saturday. Some of you are going. I hope to see you there. It is almost all set. We're, I think, sold out. It's hard to know. A couple of people haven't sent in their donation. I don't know if they're going to show up, and there's going to be a couple of seats empty. I'm going to stop worrying about it, okay? Because, I've been wrapped up with this thing for weeks now, so I don't want to think about it anymore. So everything's set. The program is set. My video guy's coming in from California. We're going to go there early Saturday and set up the audio and the video. We got a photographer coming. We got the food set up for afterwards, so you all can go upstairs. Upstairs being the first floor, the ground floor. And for 2 hours, you can mingle and have wine and really fancy appetizers from Brooklyn. So you better eat them, because they cost a lot of money. And so it'll be a good event. And it's really to celebrate what we have done, which we think is unusual. So that's TWIV 1000. Our virology course just hit lecture 20 today. We did antivirals, 5 lectures left. The course is almost over. All the lectures are on YouTube, youtube.com/profvrr. Do I have a little link here? I do not. It's okay. And go check them out. Learn virology. Tell people about it. I walked into an elevator at Columbia, and this guy came in. He said, "Oh, I know you from YouTube. I take your virology course." And yeah, if you're underage, you're allowed to come to the reception. I already asked the theater. We have some young kids coming, and it's no problem because it's not a real bar. Okay, so chill, peak. Anyway, you're not coming, and if you don't want to be around people that are having wine, well, that's your problem, isn't it? It's not a problem in general, though. People are okay to come in underage. Okay, so that was TWIV 1000. What did I write? I wrote stuff here. Oh, okay. The course. 5 lectures to go. Let's see if I can remember. We have evolution. We have emergence. We have a new lecture this year called The Tale of Two Pandemics, which is going to be HIV/AIDS and COVID. And then we have unusual infectious agents. And then we have therapeutic viruses. Okay, so there you go. And so people are weighing in on this lab leak discussion. So let's have a look what they are saying. It's funny. Okay. I like to hear anything you have to say. I learned and I find it thought-provoking. So this person's argument was that usually we discuss papers, and with the lab leak, we're not discussing papers. It's not that we say the lab leak is happening. We just give you evidence that it's not. It's not a thing. There's no evidence for a lab leak, and there's plenty of evidence for a natural audience. So I think it's important to tell. And, there's always one person who doesn't like things, right? Is there a history of lab leaks? If so, it might be interesting to compare them. No, there's no history of lab leaks. There's no lab leak. And anyone who tells you that a lab leak led to an epidemic is lying. Never happened. So there's no history. Because but these people who are proponents of it just bend the facts. They will say, oh, there's dozens of lab leaks. No, there's not dozens of lab leaks. Unless you consider a lab leak, I walk out of a lab and I'm full of viruses and bacteria and I'm bringing them out in the world. That's not it, though. That's not it. Nancy says, don't stop. It's an educated approach. You discuss many things. Okay. Okay, take that guy out. All right, of course, you should keep talking about origins. Keep going. I appreciate the lab talk versus the animals and habitat places that help viruses mix with humans. I learn how much I do not know about viruses when you have these discussions. Oh, thank you, Kip and Laura, for your contribution. I'd rather have questions with no answers than answers that cannot be questioned. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I think it's important to talk about the science and reliable sources and data as they get published on the origins issue. When MSM and governments stop mainstream media, you got to be careful with that MSM, right? It's also an acronym, not an acronym, for men who have sex with men, right? But mainstream media and governments stop talking about lab leaks and recognize the actual source, then yes, I don't want them to hear lab leak poop. I think it's important to talk about the science and reliable sources and data as they get published. Okay. I like when you talk about the market versus lab. I have to keep reiterating it to my friends who believe in the lab leak. As long as the leak theory is being discussed in quality media or there are new developments, it's worth discussing. I think we're quality media, Jack, don't you? Yeah, I do think we're quality media. Lab leak has been forced on us out of our volition that it's still in play. Spillover issues still have urgency. I've become fascinated with RNA virus genome plasticity, especially recombination. Nicola, don't worry about what people think. I like TWIV and the other podcasts because you do in-depth science. I'm for quality over quantity, even for the audience. You know, I have to tell you, I was at a birthday party Sunday for a virologist. What other birthday party am I going to go to? And who was there but a Wall Street Journal reporter, science writer, Danielle something. I can't remember her name. Someone will put it in and know who it is. So I sat next to her. And she said, oh, I listened to TWIV. I said, do you? Because many people tell me they do and they don't, like Carl Zimmer. I'm sure he doesn't listen. And she said, well, they are long. See? You see? Call them out. They are long. Always going to be people who believe in the tooth fairy. After a while, there's just no point in trying to convince them of reality. Same goes for all the lab leak people. It's important to discuss combat. Otherwise, the conspiracy theorist dialogue will dominate. The only thing is most people on here are more informed. The word needs to be spread more broadly. I agree. Oh, there's Mark. Racaniello is always okay. To a certain extent, I agree. Oh, and this is this article in the Post, which I was going to bring up also. A growing number of scientists are reconsidering the dangers of prospecting for unknown viruses and conducting other high-stakes works with pathogens. Why? What happened? What has happened? Not a growing number of scientists. What's happened that causes you to have fear? That people are talking about lab leaks, so that makes you think it might have happened? Give me a break. Anyway, it may not be necessary to prospect all the viruses in the world. Maybe it's better to, as I said some time ago, set up screening centers in major transportation hubs in different countries and sample people randomly and try and get an early warning. This is something Ian Lipkin wants to do. Okay, discuss the evidence when it appears or continue pointing out that there is no evidence. Lab leak information is fine. Just because someone says the pandemic is over, there are more information coming. People are not going to stop discussing it. We should all be aware of the mechanics that could cause a lab leak in order to address the next time something like it comes up in the future. Okay, and then we have someone who doesn't think that there's any evidence for a natural origin. So you want to see my slide with 8 bullet points and the evidence for a lab leak with no bullet points? You're making your own agenda? Go ahead. If you really stretched it, the Qatar incident is a lab leak. No, it's not a lab leak. They put out a vaccine. Okay, they intentionally put a vaccine into people. By the same token, 1977 H1N1 pandemic came from a vaccine trial. They were putting that virus into people. So it's not a leak, I think. I understand what you're saying about Qatar. It was accidentally not inactivated. But they were intentionally putting it in people, which we don't do in a lab leak. So I think that's the big difference. International Proceedings of Lab Leaks. It's a new journal. I also like the off-topic chat at the beginning of the last episode. Oh, that's TWIV 999. I thought people would hate it, but I just had to talk about my lighting and all the other stuff. Why can't I talk about what I want to do? Fast forward, right? Fast forward. Ignorance is dangerous. Well, that's totally true, and that's part of the problem. Ignorance leads to fear. Oh, this sounds like a Yoda. Fear left unchecked boils over into hatred. Okay, so I'm getting the message that you folks want to hear more anti-lab leak or whatever the evidence is, right, when it comes out. So that's good. All right. Mark Martin, thank you for your gift. Mark Martin sent me a couple of gifts for TWIV 1000, so let me show them to you. So first, this this one is pretty interesting. Does anyone know what this is? I'm going to give you a few minutes to tell me what this is. I don't know that other than Mark, anyone would know who it is, what character it is. Yeah. Okay, so I'll put that down. But Mark also sent me some cool buttons and a herpes pin. That's a herpes. No, it's a phage pin. Sorry. Yeah, it's a phage pin. See, that's cool. And then this one, this is pretty cool. This one is, I got the wrong one here, Overwhelming Microbial Greatness, with a bunch of different microbiologists on it. And maybe, Mark, you could put in the chat who they are. One looks like Leuwenhoek. One of them is Joe Handelsman. I can see that. And I don't know who the others are. And then we have a WTM. What does WTM mean, Mark? Give us that too. So let's see if Mark is active here. Thulu, very good. Richard got it. Thulu, made by, well, I can't reach. Written by, of course, H.P. Lovecraft. Not an octopus. No, it's Thulu. Thank you. Good job, Richard. Yeah, I'm a big fan of H.P. Lovecraft. I really like it. Okay, and then, finally, the real thing is this. This is very cool. This is a 3D printed thingamabobber, which you have to shine a light behind. So let's turn the lights off. Oh, What the Microbe. WTM is What the Microbe. Look, we'll turn the light off and shine this here. Happy 1000th episode. Best wishes for your 2000th. So you shine a light. We got the TWIV logo, and we got a picture of me in my the room formerly known as my office at Columbia, right? There it is. It's a good picture. And so this is cool. Thank you, Mark. How about that, huh? I got it to work. Very cool. Let's put the light back on. Anything else? So thank you, Mark. This will go in the incubator, of course. And all right, so that's Mark. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Mark was nervous because he tried to deliver it by FedEx and it went away and it didn't come, and now it just came in time, so that's good. Okay, we got Lab Leak taken care of. We got TWIV 1000. We got the course. We got the gifts from Mark. We have one more thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah, thank you. It's called a lithopane. Yeah, this is a lithopane. Yeah, it's cool. I like it very much. You guys made that in your home, right? You have some kind of a 3D printer. Thank you, Marcus. You're a good friend. And yes, we can go to dinner in Houston for sure. I know you've asked me a couple of times. I'm sorry I didn't respond. We shall go to dinner in Houston at ASM Microbe this summer. One more thing I wanted to bring up, and this is everyone must know that Paul Offit has a Substack, right? Now everybody has a Substack. So I have a blog, and everyone gets a blog. Then I have a podcast, and everyone gets a podcast. And I didn't have a Substack, but everyone has a Substack now. Should I get a Substack? Another thing for me to do. Anyway, here is something I wanted to show you from Paul's Substack. Can we stop testing for COVID? Which testing guidelines make sense in a post-pandemic world? It's very good. So, a lot of viruses circulate in the winter, right? Hundreds of thousands of people to be hospitalized, tens of thousands die. What should we do now? For people who have congestion, cough, sore throat, runny nose, fever, muscle aches, joint aches, all symptoms of COVID as well as other winter viruses. As of 2023, CDC recommended the following people be tested for COVID. Everyone with respiratory system. Everyone exposed to someone who has COVID. Everyone who will soon encounter someone at risk, high risk for severe. Most people no longer follow these. What makes the most sense? Well, he says if you have symptoms of a respiratory infection and are a high-risk group, test. If you have COVID, take Paxlovid or Remdesivir. And we have this thing here now. I already signed in. All right, now I can't tell you what it is. Basically, he says, don't test. And if you're if you have any of these symptoms, just stay home or wear a mask and protect everyone. And that's the story here. Where is it? No, I skipped by it. Here we go. I recommend if you have symptoms consistent with a viral respiratory tract infection, sore throat, congestion, etc., you're not in a high-risk group, don't test. Just assume you have COVID or one of the other viruses. Stay home until you don't have symptoms. If you can't stay home, wear a mask. And do the same for children. Okay, I think that's good. Now, I just want to point out, look at this. January 13th, 2022, over a year ago. Amy Rosenfeld, anybody know her? Test prudently. I do not advocate testing for any person vaccinated against SARS-CoV-2 unless they display severe symptoms or live with those for whom vaccines are not approved. Long blog post about testing too much. Dr. Rosenfeld was there over a year before Dr. Offit. Okay, just saying. Proud of that lady and what she does. And one more thing. Can you see that? Let me see. Yeah, you can't see it. One more thing. The next article here. This is from the Washington Post. I had to sign in to see this darn thing. Research with exotic viruses risks a deadly outbreak, scientists warn. Really? Really? What's the precedent for that? Just give me an example of why we should worry about it. Anyway, it's all about sampling of bats in Bangkok, and these people are saying, yeah, this is dangerous. We shouldn't be doing this. And then at the end, look at all those bats. Isn't that amazing? This is how these guys are all dressed up. They have bats in these little bags there. He says at the end he destroyed all his samples. These are spending by the U.S. on pathogen research worldwide. Look at this. A lot of money goes into West Africa and Liberia. Of course, that was West African Ebola outbreak. Anyway, these guys say a lot of scary things. It's a national security concern. It's a global public health concern. You know, they clip out all those little snippets that are kind of scary. And this guy, in the end, he in the early days, we didn't think it was harmful. Why do you think it's harmful now? Really? Anyway, he destroyed all of his. They gave a little figure here on what happens, right? You collect, you move things around, you ship it, and they're assessing the risk at every step as if they have anything to base that on. That risk assessments really bother me. Anyway, this guy threw out all his samples. Okay, so he's got thousands and thousands of samples. He ordered destruction of the thousands of bat specimens collected during virus hunted expeditions. Now, let me tell you why this is silly. Because once you've collected them, you got them in the lab, you throw them into a tube of trizol, which will completely inactivate infectivity, and you're left with RNA, and you could sequence it if you want. That's not the point where you should destroy them. Don't do any more sampling if you think that's where the danger is. But for crying out loud, and my father always used to say that, if you got the samples, use them. Get some information. All right, let's do some questions. I've chatted enough. Where are we from today? We got Noir from Santa Fe. I know Noir's coming on Saturday. That's pretty cool that you're coming. And this was Tom's got me on this article. Someone asked me about Washington Post alarmist articles. That's one of them. Yeah. Ay. Oh, boy. Nicola's in Italy. Yep. We have, of course, our mods. We know where they're from. Leo is from Mendocino. And today here in New York City, it was 26 Celsius. Frankly, I don't care what the weather is because I'm inside most of the time. But I do agree that it's kind of nice to walk outside and what? Feel the warmth. So today at Columbia, of course, all the students are outside because it's warm. So they're all outside. They all want their classes outside, of course. But I'm not doing that because then they're not going to pay attention. And I'm just going to show you a photograph I took on campus. Let's see if I can find that. Hold on one second while I download this photo here. Download. Okay. And then we have to, of course, open it up. I'm sorry for the delay, folks. Where is it? Image. Here we go. So I'm going to drop this on me. I think that'll do it. Yeah, you go. It worked. Look at that. So this here is Low Library. The famous steps are in the front. And yes, this is a Henry Moore sculpture. Absolutely. Somebody probably donated it. And these are undergraduates. Well, maybe they're not all undergraduates, but they're lounging around. And this is when I went to class, which was at 4 p.m. And there were many more when I left at 5:30. So cool, right? Good weather. They all sit on the steps of Low Library. The front has the famous statue and then the steps, and they all sit on it. It's called Low Beach because, it's a beach, right? Hey, it's hi from Singapore. The latest volume of Fields has a structure reasonably similar to the first volume of Principles of Virology. Will that influence the format of the 6th edition? How's it coming along? Well, I have to say that we were pioneers in making a book based on processes, not viruses. And Fields is emulating it, which is good. It's always good to be emulated. It's not going to change our formula, right? Because it's a winning formula. It's the way to teach introductory virology. How's it going? Well, we're just starting to write, and it's going to take us 2 years. So the book's not going to be out. So I think our submission date is 2025. I don't remember exactly when. And then they take over a year to publish it. So it's not going to be out for a while. Takes time. Anyway, hello from Singapore. I was there in 2019 for a meeting. It was cool. Okay, what else do we have here? London, pizza in London. There you go. We have Claire from the UK. I just like the international flavor of you guys. Mark used to have a license plate that read Dello Vibrio. Yes, I know Low is no longer the library. It's admin, but it's called Low Library. Yep. Boy, some people talk a lot. Look at this. Pennsylvania. Hello from Pennsylvania. Peake said he might go and study herpes viruses, and I said, you're already studying them. Yeah, you're full of them. You don't know it, but you're studying them. Vincent, non-virology question. With the retracted BMC ID study by Skidmore, why are a disproportionate number of anti-vax and anti-pax screwballs, cardiac guys, and business number crunchers? Because they don't know how to stay in their lane. That's it. That's it. I don't know if I can answer this one. Should we expect to have an elevated CRP in all COVID cases, including the asymptomatic ones? I remember that was an early marker, an increase. 86% of severe COVID patients had elevated CRP, at least in one study. And then other studies have since shown that it's a poor prognostic biomarker for disease. So I would get, I don't know the answer. I can ask Daniel, and we're not going to do it. We're not going to have a clinical update this week. So if you want to send him a question, Daniel at microbe.tv, because I'm not sure. Memphis, Tennessee, welcome. You are still delighted to be with you. I hope so. The numbers go down every week, but I'll keep this up until, I don't know, maybe here's another question. Do you want to do this every other week? Is every week too much? I'm here. I'm happy to do it. But if you think it's too much because viruses are no longer fascinating, you know what I have to say to that, right? There is plenty to be said about viruses always. Lack of many trolls means that's the other definition. Yeah, every week, okay. Noir wants it every week. So some people really like it. And, it's a community, of course. Every week isn't too often. All right. I heard it. because I just think about this, that I'm here and you guys feel obligated to come and listen, right? But anyway, next week is Amy. So that'll be cool. I have a pretty heavy travel schedule coming up after TWIV 1000. That Thursday, the following Thursday, I'm going to Tulane till Saturday. Then I think I told you last week, the following Thursday, the 27th, I'm taking the bus from Port Authority to New Hampshire and coming back on Saturday. And then the following week is study week. And then the following week, do I go? Oh, the 13th of May, I go to Switzerland for the nidovirus meeting. We have our final exam that week. And then May 23rd is the aquatic virus workshop. But the 24th of May, there is a symposium for Kostya Chumakov at the University of Maryland, and I'm going to go to that. So then I'll head up to the aquatic virus meeting in Quebec on the 25th and do a TWIV on the 26th. Then the following week, I have 2 engagements in D.C. I'm talking at the Cosmos Club, which is like a science club, on the 30th, and then 31st visiting the FDA, Amy's lab, with a bunch of kids from the Chance Academy in D.C. So that should be cool. June 6th, I'm going back to visit U.S. AMRID, doing a TWIV with Rich Condit, U.S. Army Medical Research Institute for Infectious Diseases. Look at that. I got the acronym. Amazing. Then June 15th, actually the 14th, there is a symposium in Philadelphia where I will give a talk about polio, and then we will do a TWIV with Susan Weiss, a person from the FBI, her chairman, whose name I'm forgetting. We're going to talk about the lab leak hypothesis and the natural origin idea, or the natural origin hypothesis and the lab leak notion. Then the 15th, I go to Houston for ASM. At 24th, we go to ASV, Georgia State. And then that's it for the rest of the summer until I got invited. July, August is pretty clear. University of Vermont, August 23rd. I'm going to go up there for a symposium and do a TWIV. And then in August, also 30th, is ESCV, European Society for Clinical Virology, in Milano. That would be cool. I'd like to go to Milano. And then what's next? Oh, I know in November there's the giant virus meeting in Tegernsee, Germany. So it's good. ASTMH is Chicago, October 18th. There's a TWIP and a clinical update there. And the Tegernsee meeting is in November. I don't have it on my calendar. All right, so big months ahead for science communication. Oh, boy. Okay, everybody likes, Mark says, I can discuss any viral issue I like, period. Okay, I got the message, folks. Thank you for weighing in on my request. I imagine if we want to expand life on Mars as a trial test, should we start with bacterial growth on the planet to test the environment, or is that a terrible idea? Well, if you want to do, could you do that robotically? So what would you do? I'm not sure what the experiment is. You want to get a petri dish in an incubator and grow some bacteria? I don't know if you want to take bacteria from Earth and bring them there. No. I don't think that's probably a good idea. I defined the syllabus. That's right. It's true. The thing is, it's a toss-up. Look, folks, you know what I'm trying to do here? I'm trying to make a company, Microbe TV, that endures. And to do that, I need to have a lot of universal support. So, if one person is representative of many people who don't want to hear about it, I have to know that. But it's just hard to gauge. The mainstream media, they talk about what they think is going to get them eyeballs, right? I don't want to do that. I want to talk about good science. Yeah, Warby Holmes et al. Are not science. I think this person is confused between science and talking head journalism. I agree. I do agree with that. So, the China data that we discussed last week on Twitter is not very good and poorly interpreted. But I thought we should hear about it because it's in the news and it's a preprint and it's a provisionally accepted to Nature too. We have to talk about it. Absolutely. Could we quarantine the lab leak to a 3-minute update section and then ignore it? It's hard to avoid it if some news is released that week, but at least it could have its own section and not dominate. Yeah, I think that would be fine. When things, unless it's a blockbuster that says SARS-CoV-2 ancestor found, in a cave, that would be worth talking about, right? But yeah, we could do quick, even smaller than a snippet, right? Saturday's my birthday. I could not make it down. All right, so you could celebrate your birthday at TWIV 1000. A number of people have canceled at the last minute saying, oh, something else came up. And God, for me, there is nothing else on Saturday, right? I understand it for other people there are. But I got pretty much a lot of the people who were on the waiting list to go. But the cool thing is everyone who canceled said, keep the money and use it for someone else. That's very nice of everyone. I appreciate it. Keep talking about proximal origins. Very interesting. Talk about whatever you want. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Not tired of lab leak, especially when you expose the screwballs. Science is not an easy way to enlightenment, but it is the only corridor to the truth. What an interesting thing to say. Let me look up enlightenment. The state of being enlightened. I hate when they use a word to define the word, right? The action or state of attaining or having spiritual knowledge. Okay, that's enlightenment. Then it's a European intellectual movement, emphasizing reason and individualism rather than tradition. It's a different. I would say enlightenment is just becoming aware of something, right? Those are other very specific definitions. Anyway, science is the only corridor to the truth. And people always ask me, is that true? Is science the only corridor to the truth? And I say yes, but then religious people say no. Maybe there are non-scientific corridors to the truth. So I don't see any evidence for that. So I say no. Lab leak is politics, not science. We're here to learn about viruses, medicine, and hard, real science. Yeah, but I think if you have data that say that it came from natural, or we need to know where this virus came from. We're still working on it, and that's what we try and report, right? There hasn't been so much on lab leak, but it was indeed good timing to have a roundup on the latest data. The FBI report set things off again, and a response was necessary. Thank you. Okay, now we are back down to what sort of tea will be served. No tea. No tea. I don't think so. They might. Who knows? They have. I just don't know. She said all the non-alcoholic beverages will be available. It'll be garbage in a bag, Andrew. It's going to be garbage tea in a bag. I wouldn't drink the tea at TWIV 1000. Sorry you couldn't be there. We have some people coming from farther than Atlanta. I know not everyone can do it. I'm amazed at the number of people who are coming from far away. Thank you all for coming. I hope it's worth your while. the minimum, you'll get to meet all of us and chat with us for 2 hours, right? All right, now we're back to the lab leak all the way down. Let's see what new stuff is here. Washington Post, mechanics. Here we go. Off-topic chat. Yep. Asante from Australia. How are you? I remember you from last time. How can you forget the name, right? Visto. Japanese encephalitis virus now spreading in Australia. How long does vaccine coverage last? I don't know. It's a good question. I have no idea. JEV vaccine durability. Not going to tell me probably. Protection has been observed for at least 3 to 5 years. That was a paper published in, yeah, that's what people are interested in. 5 years. You know, that's published in 2017. I would bet it's longer because this is a virus with a viremic phage. So that usually gives you good durable immunity, which may be because the virus has access to so many lymph nodes, right? Could very well be. Vincent, we want pan-coronavirus tests, vaccines, and antivirals. If we don't know what's out there, will that slow down handling the next spillover? Well, I don't know. It depends what you mean by we don't know what's out there. How specific do you want to be? We know there are influenza viruses, and we know there are coronaviruses, and those pose spillover threats. So what do? Can you make a pan-corona antiviral? Yeah. I think you can. Should have had one already for this pandemic, and it wouldn't have been as severe as it was. Can you make a pan-corona vaccine? Probably. We should be doing those things. Can you make a pan-influenza antiviral? Well, the ones we have work well against all the flu strains. And can you make a pan-flu vaccine? I think so. People are working on that. So that should be a priority, I think, to do those things and have those ready. But in the meantime, if something comes up, if you can make an mRNA vaccine very quickly, right, as we saw, and I think that's an option. But the problem with going out and sampling and knowing what's out there is it's just too much, and you don't know where to sample. And by the time you've finished, the viruses have changed a lot because these are RNA viruses reproducing extensively and mutating. So it's a problem. I think it's really hard. I think we would like to know where the ancestor of SARS-CoV-2 is, but I'm not sure collecting bats from caves all over the place is such a valuable enterprise as I used to think. I think you should do some sampling, but we know pretty much what's out there. Why are virologists so against using Bayesian statistics? I don't know that your statement is true. Where did you make that? Did you run into a virologist who didn't like it, and then you're generalizing to many others, or what? Because virologists do experiments, and that's how they figure out what's going on. They don't need to use statistical models to do that. The statistical models are fine for epidemiology, for example, but you don't need it to find out what's going on in an infected cell. And to do that, you do experiments, you do enough replicates so that you can rely on it. Yes, do you like the Carl Zimmer part? A lot of people say they listen, but I know they don't, because you could catch them. You could say, oh, what do you think of the weather? And they have no idea what you're talking about, right? It's okay. Not everybody has to listen. Not everyone has to listen. I have it. I mean, I'm lucky that we have this wonderful community here tonight. 248 people who come every week, and 130 people are coming to TWIV 1000 in New York City, and many people listen. I have 119,000 YouTube subs. I have 160,000 Twitter followers. Pretty good for someone who doesn't use it much, right? I just put peeps out here and there. I don't engage because that's a good way to get your personality bruised. And so a lot of people are interested in what we do. It's great. Not too long, in my opinion. I always get a little sad when I hear the music at the end. I think 2 hours is good. I will make some short content in the future. I've been saying this a long time. I would like to rip out a short video every week on whatever is important to know about for viruses anyway. That's because that's what I know. And 10 minutes, right? Just exactly what you need to know. So why am I not doing it? Well, teaching takes a lot of time, and to have 1,000. But I think after that's over, after I get through this bout of travel, I should be able to get to it. But I also need to hire an intern to be a studio assistant that can help me do that. That would be great. So we'll keep the long stuff, but we're going to make short stuff too. There's no adjuvant in mRNA vaccines, but how do they know it's not needed? Well, you could do preclinical in animals, right, before you get into people, and that will tell you whether you get a sufficient immune response with or without adjuvant. But also the components of the lipid nanoparticle probably acting as adjuvants as well. I would guess that's what I've always been told by many people who apparently know things. Yeah, so 1977 wasn't a lab leak. It was a vaccine trial. A lab leak is an accident. They were putting the virus into people, but I already said that. I already said it. Seriously, science is a process, has checks and balances. It's important to tell people how science is done, limitations and all. I totally agree. I think that's what we try and do on our pods, is to tell people how science is done. And then we have discussions that kind of illuminate how science is done. More people need to listen. It's too long. It's too complicated. I don't know how to counter that, but if you make a short 10-minute thing, you're not going to learn how science is done. All you're going to get is a summary of something. We still need labs that try to understand how viruses work so we can develop antivirals and vaccines. What's the alternative? Die? Well, yeah, the alternative is not to have them and people die, yeah. So for sure we need virology labs to figure out the basic science. Today I did a antiviral lecture and I put up a reproduction scheme for viruses. And you see, I'm going to put it up for you. We have this wonderful reproduction scheme. And that's figured out by scientists doing research. Here it is. Here it is. Okay, this is good. This is really good. Where is my screen share? There it is. So that is, to make it a little bigger, reproduction scheme. We have antivirals for these viruses at every step: attachment, uncoding, mRNA synthesis, polyprotein processing, proteases, nucleic acid replication, integration, assembly, and release. People figured out these steps for various viruses, and then we were able to make antivirals that block at each of these steps. Without that basic science, you don't know any of this stuff. So, yeah, we need it. I totally agree with you. Has there ever been a virus, a plant virus that crossed into humans? Or the other way around? I am not aware of any. Of course, we haven't looked everywhere, right? But I don't know of any plant virus that went into humans or the other way. It's a pretty big barrier to cross because the plants and mammalian cells are very different. So I'd be surprised, but I'd be open-minded about it. But no, I haven't seen it. What does the Department of Energy mean by low confidence? I don't know what they mean, but I would say they have no data. They have no bullet points saying, we found this virus in this laboratory and it's SARS-CoV-2 and it shouldn't have been there. No, nothing like that. They can't. They're not going to go to China and do investigative research. No, they could send someone in and they could walk around the building. They're not going to get in. It's just, that's why it's low confidence. Yeah. Carol, it appears you didn't see my question if I put it early on. Yeah, if you put it in before I start the podcast, it may be lost. I don't know what. You can chat up to a half hour or even more before the podcast starts, and I don't know how much of that gets into the podcast. So you're best served by putting it in once we start. Okay, what do I think of WHO's recommendation that COVID vaccines are not needed for healthy kids and teens? Bogus. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Yes, they should be vaccinated. The best solution is pregnant mothers get vaccinated late second, third trimester. They pass antibodies to the developing fetus. The fetus has them for 6 months, and then at 6 months you get vaccinated. Now, I don't know what WHO is thinking. Kids are generally healthy with infection, but not everyone survives. Some kids die. Why do you want your kid to die? I mean, that just says the 1,000 kids in the U.S. who have died of COVID, they're not worth saving. That's ridiculous. So I totally disagree with that. So there you go. Is it true that there are BSL type labs that have frozen viruses that are extinct, not circulating? I'm not aware of any of that. No. Where did you hear that from? Someone who has no idea what's in a BSL-3 lab, right? BSL-3 labs have known viruses and they have a record of it, and the CDC checks it frequently. And if there's a vial missing, you get in trouble. You shut down until you figure out what happened. You have to report everything missing, and then they come and check. So, no, there's nothing there that is extinct or not circulating, except smallpox, but that's not in a BSL lab. It's in a vault. And maybe it's in the BSL-4 in Atlanta and Moscow. That would be the only one I would be aware of, yeah. But I'm not even sure it's in a 4. It may be some other kind of vault where no one can get it. I just don't know. But let's find out. Where are smallpox stocks kept? 2 WHO designated sites, CDC and Russia, Novosibirsk. But it doesn't tell you where they are. Of course, it's not going to tell you so that you can go there and get them, right? Why is smallpox stored in a lab? They want to destroy these. So it would make sense to keep them in a BSL-4, correct? In a freezer in the BSL-4 so it's not easy to get to. And if a vial fell, it would be within the containment. So that's maybe what you were told, but it's the only one I'm aware of, smallpox. Yeah. Wasn't there a lab leak in Russia during the Cold War? Well, there were some. Yeah, there were some releases of. There was a release of. I think it was smallpox, but I don't remember. Got out of a bioweapons facility. So that's another. That's not a lab. A bioweapons facility it's just evil. It's evil, right? You're making weapons to kill your fellow humans. It's not a lab. I'm sorry. I would not dignify it by calling it a lab. It is evil incarnated. And there was an incident. Let's see. Let's see. Smallpox release, Russia. The Aral smallpox incident in 1971, outbreak at a Soviet bioweapons facility in the Aral Sea. And as I said, it's not a lab, so it's not a lab leak. What was stolen from the cathedral? The Henry Moore? I don't know. Not sure. What the microbe? So that's what this means. What the microbe, as opposed to WTF, right? Yeah. I do. Did you tell us who the people on this other one were? I got Leuwenhoek and Joe Handelsman, but I don't have the others. Tell us who they are, Mark. Here we go. Markle says this virologist said he believed the side effects he had was from the adjuvant. The adjuvant being, because nothing is added, right? Like aluminum sulfate or anything. It would have to be the lipid, the constituents of the lipid nanoparticle. That would be the adjuvant, yeah. What safeguards are taken to prevent a repeat of the Cutter incident? Well, the Cutter incident happened because they constructed an inactivation curve of virus. So you mix a virus with formalin and incubate it for a while, and they didn't construct the inactivation curve correctly. That's one explanation. The other was that they weren't stirring a big vat of virus, and there were some cell debris settling to the bottom of the bottle and didn't get inactivated there. Anyway, now they check very carefully that you do the procedure properly. It's done. Inactivation is done with stirring, and you do it long enough to make sure it's inactivated, and you do a plaque assay to measure infectivity. So it hasn't happened since then. Yeah. Yeah, it needs a light box, this thing, right? It needs to have a light box. I actually do have a light box, so I could try it. Yeah, that's very cool. Huh. What could you tell us about Arcturus? Another variant. XBB 1.1.16. The press is making all kinds of noise about it. Look at this, a highly transmissible variant. Appears to have a new symptom. Really? What is the new symptom? Yeah, the number of cases have shot up a few thousand. What's the new symptom? Some eye symptoms. I don't believe a word of it. It's just another immune-evasive Omicron-related variant. They're going to be coming constantly, and I think the news ought to leave them alone. Well, thank you. I think people like this this pink shirt, blue glasses combo. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. I haven't this in the closet for years. I never wore this shirt. I don't know why. It's very good. It works. Hello, Frank. You're here. Frank is our other moderator who's present, and the only one missing is Vanity, who's probably flying. But Vanity will be at the incubator at the TWIV 1000 on Saturday. We originally wanted to do a reception in the incubator, but 130 people at the incubator, even if 100 went, wouldn't fit. And Saturday night, the halls are dark because they turn the lights off at 6 p.m. The landlord wants to save electricity. So all the hall lights go off, and it's very dark, and you can't get them back on. So I don't get the Substack business. Somebody explained it to me. You write an article that gets emailed to people. Why is that any different from a blog? Except somehow they're monetizing. I don't know. I always don't understand this new stuff that seems to be like old stuff. Hello from Coxsackie, New York. Wonderful. Gosh, that is so cool that you are from the place where Coxsackie viruses were found. Hello, Midge from Australia, right? I think I remember that. Yeah. Van Leeuwenhoek, my first term at uni, 72. My tutor sent me to the library to find out about him and write a paragraph on what I found. Back then, we had the 1677 copy of the Royal Society Journal on OpenStack. How cool is that? That's very cool. What is a Substack? So someone define it, because I'm just going to say it's a place where you write articles and they get emailed out. So, I mean, let's look it up. What is a Substack? A new model for publishing. It combines a blog, newsletter, payment system, and customer support team, all integrated seamlessly within a simple interface. So basically, someone had an idea to make money. Okay? And I have to tell you, folks, the last thing on my mind is money. The first thing on my mind is teaching you guys everything I know. And this is a problem because I need money to run Microbe TV. And I'm not a great fundraiser. So I need to fix that. Because if I don't fundraise, this company's not going to move forward. It's funny, a couple of years ago, right here on this stream, it was Q&A, I said, I need a fundraiser. And Jeff responded, and Jeff worked for us for a while, but seems to have lost interest in helping us. It's not easy to raise money. We mostly have grassroots support from people like you. You know, the $5 a month PayPal, Patreon type thing, a little bit here on Super Chat. But boy, it's tough. It's very tough. But I am, it's not at the top of my list. I'm not good at asking people for money, right? I mean, I have people who donate, and I email them 1, 2, 3 times. They said, that's it, 3 times, and you don't hear from them. Here, we'd love $10,000 to do this, this, and this, because we're doing science education. We're doing science communication like no one else is doing. Gee, you'd think that would be convincing, right? But I guess people with a lot of money have a lot of people tugging on it, so what is a little thing like this going to do? John says, I've tried to add Substack to my media diet, but it's just a bridge too far. I do love Audible. Does anyone know if the books talked about on Twiv are on there? I don't know. I don't do Audible. I can't. Well, I don't drive anymore, so I wouldn't do Audible. Oh, okay. Here we go on this thing here from. Let's get it right. From left to right, Antoni van Leeuwenhoek, Fanny Hess, Alexander Fleming, Esther Letterberg, Sergei Winogradsky, and Joe Handelsman. Thank you very much. Where are you? You should have put you in there. You're a cool guy, Mark. Thank you, Mark. You will be able to meet Amy at Twiv 1000. She'll be there, Noir. Check her out upstairs. Some people don't know they're high risk until they discover it. Absolutely. Totally. You could be 40 years old, in good shape, no health issues as far as you know, and COVID kills you, right? You had something that you didn't know about. So I totally get that. I don't know the frequency of that kind of thing happening. I do notice that a lot of young people are still wearing masks and on the transit, on the campus, and so maybe that's part of it, yeah. But Nicole said for all the respiratory viruses, the best thing is a good mask. I don't understand why people stop wearing them. I still mask everywhere. Got 0 upper respiratory infections or allergy. I agree. If you wore masks all the time, you wouldn't get infections if you wore them properly. Yeah, I agree. So why don't people do it? They don't want to. They don't want a mask on their face. I have a problem in class when someone has a mask. I can't understand what they're saying. I have to go right up to them. Now, maybe these are, are we meant to wear masks 24/7? Well, it would be during the day, right? Every day of the year? Or are you just talking about winter? I think we can do better than that, don't you? You cover someone's face, you're removing that visual connection when you're talking to someone. You can't see their mouth, and I think that's a really important part of communicating. So, well, I agree it works. I think we can do better than that. What's better? Rapid diagnostics and antivirals, I guess. But if you don't want to put drugs in yourself, then wear a mask, sure. I think it's a tough discussion to have. I really do. Look at this. Any newspaper article that uses scientists or experts is not worth reading. Say, that's right. I'm always suspicious of that because they usually find the people who are alarmists. And I thought in that article they would have found, the usual suspects who are against virologists doing any kind of experiment. But there's actually people in Bangkok who are in the field doing those things. So it's a little better than nothing, yeah. I think and poor airy ozone is not going to make it to the TWIV 1000. I'm so sorry to hear that. Anyway, yeah, those are the people in Bangkok who are doing the sampling. Yep. Smallpox belongs in an autoclave. So, here's the thing. It's not just one virus vial. It's actually a whole collection of different strains. What they need to do is sequence all of their genomes, and then they could destroy them, because if they ever wanted to recover them, they could do that. They've been talking about destroying them for years, but they haven't done it. No. How are you dealing with ChatGPT? I don't have any situation that would where it would be useful to students. I don't assign any of these sorts of activities, at least in my undergraduates, and the exams are not anything that they could answer via ChatGPT, and they wouldn't have enough time to look it all up. Actually, they have a lot of questions in 75 minutes, so I don't see any effects of it. Does crying out loud translate directly to the time? It's funny. My father used to say that all the time. My father was an immigrant, came to the U.S. when he was 25-ish in the early 50s, and he didn't speak much English. He picked it up as an intern on the job in a hospital. So I suspect someone was saying it, and he just picked it up, right? He used to say it all the time. I never said it, except now it's slipped out. My dad has had problems with infections since his late mid-50s, and now he has to go to the hospital again, early 70s. He's a tough guy, but many people die of infections. Yes, Paul Offit says, and many people, especially elderly, the slightest infection sends them to the hospital, right? It just knocks them for a loop. So, yeah. Oswego. I remember Oswego. Yeah, so you go through Binghamton, and on the way to Ithaca, you go through Oswego, right? Am I thinking correctly? Oswego. Yep, right on the river, right. And let's see, we used to bring my daughter to Ithaca. No, it's all the way up on north of Syracuse. Sorry, I'm thinking of something else. What was I thinking of? Something near Binghamton. Where is Binghamton? There's Ithaca, Allentown. No, I'm in the wrong state. Yeah, something right past Binghamton. Oh, Owego. Owego. Oh my gosh, there you go. So there's Oswego, which is north of Syracuse, and Owego is what I was thinking of, which is right near Binghamton. That's a cute old town too. What is it? Where is my alma mater? College is Cornell up in Ithaca. If that's what you're asking, not sure. You like Low Library, which is no longer a library. I know it's admin. I gave a talk in Low Library many years ago. I did a university lecture. Was that what it's called? Yeah, I think so. It was pretty cool in the open space in the library. It's neat. And that's where the provost's office is. So when you used to go for tenure meetings, you'd go to the provost's office. Nice windows looking out on campus. Very nice. Yep. That's right. Butler is across the quad from Low, and there's where the library is. That's right. If the entire world used IPV, could polio be eradicated? And no, poliomyelitis could be, but not poliovirus, because even, let's say tomorrow we switch to IPV, an activated polio vaccine. There's still wild type 1 and vaccine-derived types 2 and 3 circulating. And they would continue to circulate because IPV does not make your intestines immune to infection. So here in the U.S. we use IPV, and you see there's vaccine-derived polio in the wastewater because people come in from other countries who use OPV, and they shed the virus here in this country, and occasionally it's transmitted from person to person, and then if you're not vaccinated, you get polio, which is what happened last summer. So, no, couldn't be. But I think I've thought about this. I think it'd be really hard to do the whole world with IPV because you need needles and people who know how to use needles. But if you could deliver it by another means, like a microneedle patch or something else that doesn't require a needle, that would be great. But I do think give everyone IPV and protect them against polio, because OPV causes polio, although the new OPV causes it less frequently. That's fine. It still does, and I don't think that's good. I bought the 5th edition last month. Thank you for buying them. They'll be good for a number of years. Yeah. Trivia about the statue in front of Low. Yeah, what is that statue? Statue in front of Low Library. Alma Mater. By Daniel Chester French. It's got an owl. Oh, I'm going to have to go look. I'll be back on Monday. Yeah, I'll go look. I'll take a picture of it. That's cool. Thank you. My 16-year-old son finished high school in 2 years, now a freshman at UNCW. He watches every TWIV. Wow. Congratulations. 2 years. Holy cow. And that's great that your son is listening to TWIV. Love it. A few months ago, I asked if I should hold off on getting a new flock of chickens. I did and got a covered chicken run. Good. That's it. I'm just reading another comment there. Sorry. All right. Yes, C-reactive protein is CRP. I'm glad your chickens are happy. Keep going until there are no viruses left. Well, there are always going to be viruses, right? We're going to keep going. You guys are wonderful because you're all supporters. You're enthusiastic, and it's why you're here. I love it. Yesterday, 14 people on ventilators in New Jersey, lowest since beginning. That's great. That's really good. Pete buys packets of popcorn specifically for office hours. So what do you mean? Your office hours or my office hours? You talking about this one? Vincent delves into the unseen, viruses and hosts a microscopic scene. His passion for science, infectious and true, exploring the world of virology anew. GPT 3.5. Really? That was generated by ChatGPT? What did you tell it to do? Write a poem with Vincent? That's pretty funny. I like that. No, once a week is not too much. I'm happy to be here once a week. I like it very much. In fact, last week I really enjoyed doing it from the incubator because I had a hotel room that night. At 10, I just went to the hotel, crashed. It was great. And the next morning I was back at the incubator really early at a 9 a.m. meeting. It's always hard to get in by that. So I like to do that now and then. Do it from the city. That'd be cool. And maybe Daniel come. No, it's too late for him. He'll do it from home. Yeah. Did you see the study? SARS-CoV-2's evolutionary capacity is mostly driven by host antiviral molecules. Twitter seems worked up about it. Haven't seen it yet. I will take a look, though. Next week we can talk about it, okay? So apparently Ziziva303 asked for a short poem about me. It knows who I am. That is really funny. I have to go back to that. He delves into the unseen, viruses and hosts, a microscopic scene. His passion for science, infectious and true, exploring the world of virology anew. That was so. Ziziva asked for a poem. Yes, ChatGPT knows me. We've gone out a few times, you know. That's so funny. Thank you, Vaxman, for your contribution to science communication. Lori wants to know, to attend TWIV Live in Houston, do you have to register? Yeah, unfortunately. You have to register for the conference, which is too expensive. Because you have to go onto the exhibit floor and you need a sticker. But I tell you, if you want to go, I could get you a guest pass. So let me know, vincent@microbe.tv. I get you a guest pass. Because I haven't registered yet, so I can register you as a guest. And it's cheaper. Okay, let me know. Thank you, Lisa, for your contribution to science communication. Milano, che bello. Yeah, it's a nice city. I'm looking forward to that. Susan Weiss worked on coronas before it was cool. Yeah, she's the longest working coronavirologist, I think, except one guy she mentioned. I can't remember who that was. There was a bioinformatics computational paper and guests on TWIV back in summer of 2020. Anything new on genomics recombinations? I haven't. There are plenty of papers on genomics and recombination. But what are they telling us? You know, recombination occurs. Remember, one of the Omicrons is derived by recombination. But nothing that stands out. That's why we haven't done it. I almost never get to watch. Good. I'm glad you got to watch tonight. We're here every week, 8 p.m. C-reactive protein is generally a marker of inflammation. Thank you very much. It's too late. The Soviet Union didn't sterilize their Martian landers. Great. Did we, Mark? Did we do it? Did we sterilize them? You don't hear it enough, but your generous sharing of your science expertise changes lives and lifts people. Thank you. That's very kind of you, Mark H. I appreciate that. I understand that the reach is beyond just the people listening because they tell other people and so forth. But, I do periodically feel that we're not doing as much as we could, right? Wish I could do more. Hundreds of people are dying from complications of COVID-19 daily. For them and their loved ones and healthcare workers, the pandemic isn't over. But it depends what you call a pandemic, right? That epidemic phase, a new virus comes into the population and then threatens to disrupt everything: society, healthcare, science, psychology, sociology. This is the aftermath. I totally agree that we have a problem, but it's not a pandemic, at least not in the U.S. These issues need attention, and that's part of the problem, that as soon as you say the pandemic is over, then you see the government is taking away money from people now. So, but I don't want to use the pandemic word. I went on Instagram, and Lucky6, he was on Twiv a while ago. I forgot his name. He said, people are saying the pandemic's over, but we still have these long-term issues and people dying. I understand that, but the pandemic phase is over. This is the fallout from it. It's not a pandemic. And pandemic is a propaganda word to many extents to get things mobilized, yeah. Hello, Salvatore. I know you want to meet me, right? I have your email. I'm not sure where it is yet. But the symposium is on June 14th, right? Let me see. Just June 14th, and I am staying that night because we're going to dinner, so I'm going to come down in the morning and stay overnight. But I will let you know where it is. I don't know actually yet. They haven't told me. They have not told me. But you said you wanted to come. You probably could come to it and we can chat, right? Vincent, there might be fewer people on the live stream, but like me, if I'm at work, I can't wait for the evening to watch it once weekly. Thank you so much. Perhaps we need to replace the term zoonotic spillover with animal leak theory. That's very good. I like that very much. And that sounds like a rat with bladder issues. This is very clever, folks. The problem with English is that there is only one word for knowing. In German, there are two. To know a fact or know a person, a big difference. That's very interesting. That's cool. Yeah. I know not everyone can make a live YouTube broadcast. We used to have 1,000 people here, though. So people made it their business to make it. I got it. It's fine. I think the 260 people is great. My Ray Ortega, who's going to be doing the video at Twitter, said that's great. If you have a few hundred people, you're really lucky. Most streams don't have that. So I'm grateful. Don't take it as complaining. I'm just lamenting, because if you're at 1,000 and then you go down to 300, it's sad, right? People are leaving you. Nobody likes people to leave, except people who want to be alone, I guess. I don't need to be alone. In the early 80s, I was part of a study for what was then new rabies vaccination. After a second jab, my titer was higher enough that I didn't get the third. 40 years ago. Do I still have immunity? You're probably getting to the point where you might not anymore. But I don't think people have studied that. But rabies is the one disease where it would be worth studying, because people are not getting challenged all the time with rabies, right? You get the vaccine and that's it. You're not getting, unless you're in a high-risk job where you're getting challenged all the time. So it would be interesting to know how long immunity lasts. But I'm not aware of any studies that have looked that long. Who will be in TWIV 1001? I don't know. It's just going to be a Daniel clinical update. That's 1001. 1000 is just the 8 of us. Just the 8 of us. I decided not to have a guest, to focus on any guest, because this is about us doing this for 1,000 episodes, and we're going to sit up there and have a good time, and then we're going to mingle with you afterwards. That's what my view of this is. What do you guys think? Is that a good plan? Any evidence that populations of hunter-gatherers were greatly reduced? No, because their populations were not big enough to sustain those kinds of viruses, right? Measles needs 500,000 people to sustain an outbreak. So I think there were certainly infections, but no reduction. And the only reduction we have good data for, of course, is when the European explorers went to the New World and they brought viruses, measles and smallpox with them, and that wiped out millions of people who were living here. That was a big problem. So TWIV 1000 is not going to be live stream. It was a little problem for the theater to do that. But you'll see it. It's actually, let me tell you, so no clinical update this week. TWIV is going to be recorded Saturday night, so it's not going to release on Sunday. It'd probably be released Tuesday-ish, Tuesday or Wednesday. So a little bit of different schedule, but just for the week. Then the following week we'll resume our schedule. Except that, so Daniel's clinical update will come out the following week on Saturday. I will be going to Tulane, so I can't record a TWIV. I will release the APHL TWIV that we recorded in Atlanta. Wouldn't the NSA have metadata of Chinese cell phones, text messaging talking about being sick? Yes. So that's been done for the Warraby paper, which, told them all the cases in the market and not in the lab, right? There's no epicenter in the lab. If it came from a lab, there'd be an epicenter in the lab. That's it. That's what an epicenter means. That's where the infection begins. So it was at the Huanan seafood market. How do people work with amoeba viruses? Yes, they grow them under liquid. I'm not sure if they do plaque assays. I know that chlorella viruses will make plaques on chlorella, green chlorella monolayers. I don't believe they do monolayers of amoeba and plaque, but they just grow them under liquid. Yeah. Can you explain viremic phase and how it influences the longevity of immunity provided by vaccines? So how about a little teaching moment here? So that would be pathogenesis, I think. So which lecture would that be? I always have trouble remembering the numbers. Yeah, here it is. I hit it the first time. Mechanisms of pathogenesis. So here is viremia. Where is it? Come on. Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Where's viremia? Maybe it's not in mechanisms. I think it's in infection basics. Okay, sorry. Let's go get that one. That was 15, blah, blah. 12 is infection basics. Yeah, here we go. Here we have viremia. So let's do the screen share. So this is a viremia. So this is an experiment, actually, where you inoculate mice with virus in the tail vein. And then you're looking at days after infection with virus titer on the y-axis. As you see the inoculum, you get a burst. It goes down. And then it goes and reproduces in some tissues. And you get a primary viremia. And then that goes down. This is virus in the blood we're measuring. And then it expands much more greatly. So viremia means virus in the blood. And it is, we think, it gives you long-lasting immunity, longer than a mucosal infection, because the virus is accessing many different lymph nodes throughout your body. And each lymph node, the antigen is being sampled, and the B cells are responding and making high affinity antibodies, and they're doing it all over the place. So that may be why you have longevity, because now you're making a lot of memory B cells, way more than you normally would in a, say, mucosal infection. Thanks, Mark, for coming. Enjoy your dinner. Thank you very much. I'm sorry the last TWIV was over your head. I'm really sorry about that. We tried to, I guess we just got carried away. Next time we'll get down to the basics. But the TWIV 1000, you're gonna understand everything, so that's not a problem. When Pasteur attenuated rabies on rabbits' spines, what exactly caused the attenuation? Propagating the virus in a different host. The rabbit, and multiple times. We really don't know because we don't have any of that left anymore. It's an interesting problem, right? Word is reported this week promising antivirals. Well, Gilead makes remdesivir. Let's take a look. Gilead new antivirals. No, I don't see anything new except remdesivir. They're developing a oral remdesivir, but I don't see anything new. John. Thank you, Siddhartha, for your contribution. I think we'll see you at TWIV 1000. Why does rabies exist? Can you give an evolutionary explanation? In one of your lectures, you mentioned encephalitis as a mishap. Are there viruses similar to rabies? Why is it so lethal? Yeah, there are other viruses similar to rabies as well. Viruses exist because they have a host and they can multiply and spread. There's no Y involved. This in animals, rabies, targets the central nervous system, and frequently animals eat each other and they can transmit it that way. So in animals, non-human animals, rabies getting into the central nervous system isn't a mishap. But in humans, it is because it doesn't transmit to anyone else. And any virus in humans that gets into the CNS, it doesn't come out again, so it doesn't transmit to anyone. So it's a dead end. It's an accident. But animals do cannibalize each other, so it's not there. And there are other viruses similar to rabies, for sure. The lethality comes from them going into a new host. So rabies, the host is not humans. It's a spillover event. It's a zoonosis, and when the virus gets into a host that it's never seen before, the host has never seen it, there's no immunity unless you're vaccinated, then you have a lethal disease. It's what we see with SARS-CoV-2, right? So that's the story there. Yeah, I agree. People love the short videos. We'll do that. I've done a few. Well, they're not so short. They're 20 minutes because when I start talking, I talk too much. So I will for sure make them. And my response to it's too long, the Super Bowl lasts even longer. I agree totally, but you don't have to think to watch the Super Bowl, do you? You have to think to watch my stuff. Yep. Yeah, you can always speed it up. You can stop and come back. Do you think there's a connection between two new viruses emerging because of stressed mammal population due to climate change? Yeah, for sure. I mean, we did a paper on TWIV not too long ago where they modeled that. They modeled animals moving due to climate change, right? Their food webs are disrupted, so they move somewhere else. They bring the viruses with them and they encounter new hosts. And they predicted many new spillovers as a consequence. So it's happening already, I'm sure, as these populations move. Has there ever been a runaway science experiment that threatened human existence, not including the Manhattan Project? In my field, I would say no. I've never seen one that threatened human existence, but in other fields there might have been. I'm just not aware of them. Okay, Eric weighs in on the adjuvants in Moderna vaccine. The lipids do act as adjuvants, and even the nucleic acid content act as adjuvant. The mRNA is not 100% pure. It's 70%-ish. My coworker used to call these impurities magic dirt because it stimulates these toll-like receptors. Yeah. There you go. Lab leak, anthrax in 1979 from a Russian research facility. Is that a research facility or a bioweapons leak? Anthrax leak, 1979. Let's see. Sverdlov. So it was a research facility. It's another bioweapons facility. It doesn't count as a lab leak. Nope. You might be able to edit out a 10-minute clip. Yes, for sure. For sure, I could do that. So it's a logistical thing, you know. I definitely can do that. Because, you know, to go through the whole episode again and find that will take time. Although, well, and I don't edit the video anymore. I just do the audio. But it's, yeah, absolutely. That's something. I did a short from the I can't remember his name now. He did an mRNA vaccine against many influenza types. And I asked him, should we worry about H5N1? And he said, yes, this world is not ready for another pandemic. I made a YouTube short out of that. It did very well. And it didn't take much to do it. YouTube has it set up really nicely. So, yes, I could do more of that. I need to. I totally agree. I would love to get someone to do it. I have to get someone to pay them to do it for sure. Actually, we do the same with TikToks, right? We do have TikToks up there. Antivirals in 21 was a gem. Hopefully it is still a gem. I hope you like it. It's a little changed. It's a little more focused. China's blocking of access causes people to be suspicious. It's unfortunate that the government stepped in to control the narrative rather than to allow science. I agree. I think they ought to be open about it, and they would have less suspicion about them. Yeah. Vinny's Minis. That's funny. My family doc finally said he would prescribe Paxlovid. That's great. Keep working at it. Maybe you can get it. Is the WHO recommendation against COVID vaccine for kids just money, limited resource? Maybe. Maybe that's it. Hello, Vanity. Welcome. Thank you for showing up. The neuro class ran overtime, huh? Okay. Talking about smallpox makes me think about Condit. I wish he would come on. That's a good idea. He would do it, I'm sure. I'll write it down. Condit office hours. So when he gets back after the celebration this weekend, we will get him to do an office hours for sure. Yeah, so smallpox infected some people in a lab in the UK, and one lady died. And in 1978, one lady died. In 1978, death of Janet Parker, a photographer. Last recorded person to die of smallpox. And her innocent death was connected to the deaths of two other people. I think one of them committed suicide, if I don't remember. But they weren't using any biocontainment. They were working just in hoods on the bench. So you're asking for trouble when you do that, right? Could you bring some Twix candy bars? But Les, you're not going. You canceled, right? For TWIV 1000. Is that a joke? Because Les told me you told me you weren't going. Thank you, James, for your contribution. Congratulations on TWIV 1000. Thanks so much. Our march to 2000, which should take about 10 years. I think I could make it, right? Be 80? Yeah, why not? Yeah. I'll do it. I'll be here. Yeah, highly transmissible. I mean, this is crazy that they're always more transmissible than the other. It doesn't make any sense. They don't know what they're talking about. They've been transmissible from day one, right? I used Venmo this week to donate. I don't recall the fee that YouTube would take. If you use Venmo, I found you do have to type the entire @Microbe TV before it showed up. Yeah, oh, there, I got your Venmo here. Let's see. I see your Venmo here. Thank you, John. YouTube takes 30%. But this is very easy here, right? IL. So, IL. You know, we have an IL coming on TWIP in a couple of weeks. It's coincidence, I guess. Hello, Nitin from India. Nice to have you here. Really appreciate it. And Arnaud is also from India, Bangalore. Good to have you. I love the Arnaud. Yeah, that's really good. Substack is a blog, easy to start and use. So I have a blog. So why is Substack better? Because it's run by a bunch of people who can make money off it, right? Yeah. It's a blog with subscription options. Okay. Well, I've been told, well, look at this. The greatest minds in the world use Substack. I better get on there. I'm not the greatest mind in the world, but, you know, I should get on there anyway. How deep into the earth can you find viruses? So you're talking about the crust, right? I don't think people have looked very far, frankly. You know, they've just scratched the surface. You could certainly find bacteria quite deep, but I don't know about viruses. They just haven't looked very deeply, not at all. Could mining companies take samples in the cheap? Would be interesting, but remember, you need a host for the virus to grow in, so I'm not sure there would be much down there. Maybe phages, because there could be bacteria. Thank you, Rainey, for your contribution. We do try to speak the truth. That's what we want. You could do a Microbe TV Substack and have contributors writing short pieces, others writing on open questions, etc. Subscribers pay small amount, but adds up with lots of subscribers. But, you know, I just opened a Discord server, and now I got to have another thing. I have to have another thing. I'm going to try it. Listen, I haven't written in Virology blog for a long time. So it's time for me to start writing, and I'll post it on Substack too. If any of you are in Portland, Maine this week, a COVID-themed play is part of the Maine Playwrights Festival. It's poignant and by my dad, recently retired from Science Field and a new playwright. Lovely. Very cool. This is just nonsense. Osterholm in his latest podcast said he had 5 days of Paxlovid, then was worse after he went off and had 5 more days. This is just something else going on. I'm sorry. It doesn't get worse. Unless he didn't take all the pills or something. And, for him to proselytize about his N=1 experience and saying, maybe it's screwed up is just totally wrong. Totally wrong. Man, now we're talking about masks. Okay. That's okay. We are okay with masks. My family's Italian and we all say it, I think, for crying out loud, right? So here we go. Ziziva asked for a short poem about you. It knows who you are. So that's the latest, yeah. Do you not drive at all, or you don't drive into New York? No, I don't. I used to drive into New York City every bloody day, 72 miles round trip for 38 friggin' years. And boy, am I over that. I take the train and I drive 3 miles or 4 miles to the train station and park there, and that's it. And if I could, I would avoid that. I'd love to not have a car, but in the suburbs, you have to. I read an article this morning about a cluster of Powassan virus. Is it Powassan or Powassan? I don't know. I always get corrected. So what is Powassan virus? It's a tick-borne virus. It's a flavivirus transmitted by ticks. It's found in North America, also in Russia. It's named after a town in Ontario. It can cause encephalitis. And it is being transmitted in New England. That's right, northeastern U.S. It can be problematic. That's all I know about it. Yes, the new definition of fame, ChatGPT knows who you are. That's very funny. What do you think about needle-free vaccine delivery? I love it. I love it. What kind of needle-free are you thinking about? I don't know about animals if that's necessary, because you can quickly immunize animals, right? But for humans, I'd love needle-free, yeah. Oh, is this another GPT? This is pretty funny. We have a lot of likes compared to the listeners. Thank you all so much. 233 likes, 242 listens. Dr. Amy Rosenfeld, a virologist bright, working tirelessly day and night to understand diseases and find a cure, her dedication and passion, a shining allure. Oh, this is fabulous. I don't know if Dr. R is listening. You is famous. That's just great. Thank you, Artemis. Very good. Odds of another Omicron-like variant sweeping the world again that evades neutralization. No, we haven't exhausted the antigenic space. And yes, it could happen again, but I'm not convinced that it's such a big deal. I think non-neutralizing antibodies can protect you, and T cells will also help you recover. So I'm not sure that, aside from getting a foothold, that it causes all that much of a problem. But yes, they will keep coming for sure, as long as a lot of people are infected. Yeah. I watched Mike Orby's 2015-ish talk on the origins of flu. Could we get him onto a Twix? Well, we did have him on to talk about the market study that he did. And we actually did his flu paper on our own, and he listened to it and thought it was great. So I don't know. I think we got it covered. I don't. We could always have him on for the flu story. I'm sure he would like to do that. Less people working from home now. Lockdown is over. Travel and daily. Yes, that's all true. I thought answered. It's not no simulcast. You can watch it afterwards, and midweek. Kathy should sing. I'm not sure she will. She said she's not a soloist. So you were in New York April 21st, and you're missing it. That's too bad. I'm sorry to hear about that. I was here for the first Q&A. Since then, I probably missed a couple. The best source of information I had during the pandemic. I can't thank you and Amy and us. Always the facts, always great. You're always a big supporter, Raphael. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I know that people got their information and now they're leaving. I totally get that. Okay. I just think that some of them stayed, and that's great, right? Because we have more than we started with. By no means a scientist, but the pandemic brought me here. Now have a huge curiosity and passion for viruses. That's what I'm talking about. People who came for the pandemic, they stay for the science. Maybe you lost some fly-by-nights, but you got people like me. So please don't feel so sad. Thank you, Alina, for those kind words. Not sad, just wondering what I could have done to keep people. But people always come and go. But people like you, these are the people that I'm very happy to keep. So thank you for coming and staying. And thank you for expressing that. I really appreciate it. I once worked with someone who was sprayed in the face with live rabies virus from a burst hose. She was fine, of course, because she was vaccinated. So, yeah, some people are occasionally challenged, but not on the scale of SARS-CoV-2, where if you wanted to say how long do T cells last, it would be hard after a vaccination. It would be hard to know because people keep getting infected, right? So you don't know if they're getting boosted. They are getting boosted, so you can't really say the vaccine lasts X years, right? Amoeba cells are always moving and also grow in suspension. It's difficult to do a plaque assay. Yeah, I got that, yeah. What happened to super spreaders? There are no more situations where a super spreader would have an effect, right? Because, well, first of all, people are vaccinated, or over 90% of people in the U.S. anyway have some kind of immunity from infection or vaccination or a combination of the two. And so there are just fewer super spreader events. And people get infected, they're asymptomatic, they are mild, and we don't investigate any of that anymore. I know tetanus is a bacteria. Save it from Michael Schmidt. But is the 10-year booster recommendation based on when some start having waning immunity? It's a majority of people. I don't know what kind of immunity it is, right? It could be T cells. And, yeah, we know that we start to get reinfections after that time. So that's why you get the boost every 10 years. Japanese encephalitis vaccine is inactivated. Okay, let's take a look at it. So, yeah, then the viremia immunity wouldn't apply, that's for sure. Yeah, it's inactivated, yep. So this is given subcutaneously. And so, yes, it's not going to have that long-lasting durability, right? Because it's not getting into viremia. Yep. I would like to know your answer to these 3 questions. HIV is 2N. Oh, it has two copies of the RNA genome. What strand does the virus use? It's random. The polymerase goes back and forth randomly and copies a little bit of both. One, the other, one, the other, one, the other. Totally random. So the final DNA is a combination of both. Hello, Peter from Turkey. Guys, good to see you back. Glad you're safe. Yeah, here's the story. Gilead will do this. Will end a partnership to develop an oral version. They have instead decided to work on its own oral prodrug. Okay, I guess they don't want to work with them. There you go. Tetanus vaccine in Switzerland used to be every 5 years, then they changed to 10. Then if you had a certain number of boosters, you didn't need any more. Here in the U.S., they keep giving to us every 10 years. It's like a marker for my age, right? Every 10 years. This is a good question. Are there any arboviruses that are spread from asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic people? Dengue showed up in a travel case and also a mosquito trap in Phoenix last year. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, so people do bring in arboviruses to the U.S. all the time. You have, dengue and chikungunya. So I think you're getting... So I think they're not shedding during the pre-symptomatic period, and then they get symptoms and they start to shed, and then you have then you have a case. I don't think you have an outbreak, although recently there was one. In Florida and Texas, you can have some local transmission because they have Aedes aegypti, at least for dengue. But I believe that I don't know if they can be spread from or pre-symptomatic people. I'd have to look into that. It's a really good question. Can rabbits spread rabies? I don't know. You got two different answers, right? So yeah, the CDC says never. Almost never. But they can be infected. So in the lab, they can be infected. But CDC says in the wild, you never find them infected. So even though they're susceptible. So maybe that's because they rarely come in contact with rabies-infected people. Sylvia from Bogota, nice to see you. And you're welcome for your appreciation. No, I'm not splitting hairs, Elizabeth, because they're screwing around trying to make dangerous things. They're not using the same precautions that a lab is, that a research lab. It is absolutely not splitting hairs. Nope. Sorry. You're wrong on that one. Have you ever been to Plum Island? Yes, I went there a couple of times. What did I see? You take a ferry, you get there, you go in, you change into white lab materials, you go in through doors and work, and then on the way out, you take off the whites and throw them in the bin. You take a shower, you walk through the shower, and then you get dressed and you leave, and you go out. I saw labs. I didn't see anything else. I saw some pigs in rooms where they were being inoculated with viruses. That's about it. All right, we are getting down here to 2 minutes. I want to thank some people for contributions. Ian, thank you so much, and thanks for your congratulations. For Twiv 1000, would I invite Siddhartha? Yeah, I would. I would love to have him on. That would be fun. Not a coincidence. There are only two with this name in Sydney. So you're in Sydney, but our guest is coming from Israel, I think. If you were a student doing a gap year, what advice would you give yourself to prepare for the PhD? I don't know. You should work in a virus lab for that gap year. If not, listen to a lot of Twiv and read articles. Well, thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad you think I made an impact in me and our teams here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alina, for your contribution. Happy almost 1K. Really appreciate that. And that is going to do it for another office hours. We want to thank the moderators. We had the whole team here tonight. We had Steph, we had Les, we had Tom, we had Vanity, we had Peak, and we had Barb Mack. Who did I forget? know I forgot someone. I got Tom, right? Vanity, Les, Steph, Barb Mack, Peak, Frank was here. All right. Thank you all for moderating again. And thank you all for coming. 268 people or so. That was great. 259 likes. Can't ask for more than that. Excited to do 1,000 episodes of TWIV. And then the following week, next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m., we will be back with Q&A with A and V. Meantime, I hope to see some of you at TWIV 1000. Do come up to us at the reception afterwards and say hello. And until then, safe travels, and thanks for all your congratulations. And see you next week. Good night, everybody.